Hello, creatives, community, and kind folks. Welcome to RPG with DBJ. I am your host, DBJ, and today we're taking a look at one of our last, not D&D games, as we've done a bit of a travel log around the world in terms of finding a tabletop role-playing game that embraces many of the ethnicity, culture, history, mythology of a place around the world. And so today we're visiting mythic China and Japan. We're going to take a look at the third edition of Legend of the Five Rings. So guys, sit back, relax, get your snacks, and hopefully we will enjoy our page through overview of L5R, Legend of the Five Rings. All right, so to get some housekeeping out the way, past couple of 3 or 4 days, I was just knocked on my ass, sick. Wife was sick, just could not do it. So apologize for that. We do try to do this Monday through Friday-ish at 6 a.m. ish here in the States, but life is going to life. So we're going to take a look at Legend of the Five Rings. Now, from what I understand, there are 5 iterations of this game, and we're going to take a look at a third edition, revised edition of it. And mind you, mechanically, we'll go into the mechanics first, but I will say that there are different iterations have different mechanical structures to it, but we're going to do the roll and keep version of this game, and it is absolutely positively a samurai, not just inspired. There you go. It's not just inspired, but it is also a game that really emphasizes the fact that you are playing a mythic samurai in an artificial world. Now, there's a little bit of a cheat with this, because I tried to find games that were made by the people that live there and are a fan of, are embracing their own culture and mythology and mysticism and histories and things. I really couldn't find one so far that was based entirely in Japan, that was translated to English, that incorporated that very thing. There's a lot of like anime inspired ones and what they call JRPGs that come from Japan, but I really wanted to find one that was really embraced that mythology and culture of the medieval period of Japan. So here is this is just not quite the most exciting cover to a tabletop role-playing game, but we're going to get into the character sheet and the mechanics first, and then by virtue of that, we will get into the game. All right, so let's get the character sheet up here. Oh, nope, let's cancel that and apologize. Here we are. Let's get the chat window up as well. So this is the character sheet, or one of a number of character sheets, but we're going to go through the horizontal version of Legend of the Five Rings, role-playing game. And you will absolutely notice that there are, 5 rings, and they correspond with earth, water, fire, air, and then void. And in this game, this version of it, this third edition version of it, as a matter of fact, allow me to put a link. I'll put the drive-through link. Let's copy this. These are scans of the book. I'll put there we go. Okay. Posted that into the chat. This is a link. I'll try to remember to put that down in a doobly-doo to get the scans of the 3rd edition of this game. So mechanics. Sorry about that. Mechanics for those who are interested in it. This is a D10 dice pool system. So you will have a number of D10s and you will roll them. And it is a roll and keep system. So you will roll some dice and keep some of the dice that you roll. And so how that is done is when you are tasked with performing an action, the game master will tell you which of your 4 stats you will roll: earth, water, fire, and air, as written on this character sheet. Void is a bit of like a I'll call them like moxie, hero points, inspiration, fate points, things of that nature. It's relegated to that. And along with these are basically known as traits, and you have your earth, water, fire, and air trait, and then you will combine that with a skill. And let me page down here a little bit. Here we have our blank lines with skills. We'll have the skill name and emphasis, and usually you'll have the skill will be general, and you can specialize or have a unique trait related to your emphasis. So maybe you might have survival skill and your emphasis might be mountains or Arctic land or something like that. It could be you may have a skill of etiquette and emphasis may be royal courts or the streets or something of that nature, like a specialization. So an example of this would be oh, by the way, sorry, side note, if you're not sure about what earth, water, fire, and air represent, they are split into 2 stats. So for earth, we've got stamina and willpower. For water, we have strength and perception. For fire, we have agility and intelligence. And then for air, we have reflexes and awareness. And if you notice here, the double split for your elements of the 4 of your 5 rings, there's more of a physical and then a mental one. So for example, if we read across from left to right for your physical stats, there's stamina, strength, agility, and reflexes. And then for your mental stats, it's willpower, perception, intelligence, and awareness. And when the game master asks for you to roll that, you'll find your stat, and your stat is going to be maybe like a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and that's how many dice you'll grab. And then your skill rank is the same thing. You'll have a bunch of those. So when you roll your dice pool, let's say a fire of 3 and a skill of 3, you'll roll 6 dice, and you'll keep whatever your element is, your trait is. That's how many dice you'll keep, and you'll add those together. So there is a bit of a balance between, you could have a very low trait but high skill, and in many ways, if you have a low trait and a high skill, it means you roll, say, 6 dice, but you may only keep 2 if your fire score is 2 and your skill is 4. Or the opposite, maybe your fire is 4 and your skill is 2, which means you will roll 6 dice and you'll keep 4 of them and add them together and try to beat a target number. Hello. So, and this is again, a dice pool roll and keep, and uniquely, it is some of the what would you call them? Some of the difficulties will be listed with a number, the letter K, and another number. So it might be 4K2. So you might have to roll 4 dice, and the K is for keep. So 4 dice, keep 2. And so it's been known as the roll and keep system. And so I want to show that to you. I'll show you the bottom of this character sheet here as I scroll down. Primary weapon, off to the left, we've got our primary weapon. Roll to attack. DR, quality, special abilities, armor, target number bonus, quality, special abilities. TN is a target number to be hit. And of course we have our blank lines here for all of the skills that we may write down. our initiative pool roll for reflexes or school rank and your current initiative, and then our wound levels. And unlike regular hit point system games, this does have a wound level system. And so as you take wounds, you go from healthy, nicked, grazed, hurt, injured, crippled, and down. And you receive you'll see a plus. So for like nicked, grazed, hurt, +3, +5, +10, +15, and these add to the target number to perform certain actions. So you don't want, it looks like a bonus and it's like, wow, am I getting better? Actually, that's not true. It adds to the difficulty of, let's say, climbing an outer wall of a castle, or sneaking past guards, or convincing a merchant or something of that nature. And of course, at the very end, you are out and cannot act. And at the very end, very bottom of this, we have glory, honor, and status. And these, you are always trying to gain at least one of these in any of your conflicts. And because of that, sometimes they come in opposition to each other. So your status may prevent you from gaining glory or honor because the people of the land, your status as a soldier or a guardian or something like that may go in contact. The same thing with glory and honor as well. You may want some notoriety and glory when performing a particular action, but you could be breaking against your honor in doing so. Maybe you aren't supposed to be as prideful or individualistic. You're supposed to work for your clan. And then again, same thing with honor. You may want to increase your honor status, but others are looking at you like, hey, you're like your family or whatever. Like, you should step forward, get some of this glory and increase your status, but your honor is telling you not to do so. And so there is a little bit of not as deep as like some of the World of Darkness stats, but you can compete. There can be some conflict with each other, and then we'll get into the clans, because that's the big thing here. Yeah, we did. Yeah, exactly, Drew. Yep, daylight saving time. No S. Drew's like, yeah, L5R third is Bastion of the Past. Yeah, I like the. I've never played the Fantasy Flight game version of Legend of the Five Rings, which uses the description dice. I've never played that version of it, and I hear some people say it's not the best. Also, if we go back to, as a matter of fact, let's go back to the character sheet again. Other than grabbing your dice pool with your trait and your skills, and then rolling that and keeping some of the dice, to add some variability in there and to add some tension, there's something known as a raise. And so you can add 5 to the target number to raise the difficulty, but then you gain a benefit, and you have a discussion back and forth about what that benefit might be. Like, you might be surrounded by bandits, traveling down the road, and if these bandits keep on going, maybe you're protecting someone, or there's a royal seal or missive that you need to protect, and dispatching these bandits and scaring them off might be the most important thing. And so therefore you may say, all right, these bandits, they really don't know how to fight, so I'm going to raise the TN, the target number, and then roll my dice. And so if you raise the target number, you may get like a side effect, like, oh, your swordsmanship, not only do you dispatch 2 of the bandits, but your swordsmanship is scary enough that the others run off, or something like that. And so you can get an additional benefit from it. The problem is, if you fail, you raised it, so you also fail anyway, right? Like, it's the risk reward system, and so there is a risk reward system. Yeah, Drew. Yep. Yeah, I believe it's now in its 5th edition of the game, if I'm not mistaken. All right, come on, kitty. Right here. Yeah, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, we're not good. We can't do all the editions of the game. Now the I don't want to say controversial. The bits and bobbles of this game involve a mythic region of known as Rokugan, and we're going. Let's get to the book right now. Let's change this up. Come on. All right. So. No, you know what? We'll get into the clans first. So, of course, this is these are page scans of the 3rd edition of the book, and pretty easy to follow here. And I also, if I'm not mistaken, you guys let me know. Like many role-playing games from our distant past of the 90s and 2000s, a lot of times they pass from ownership to ownership, and I believe this Legend of Five Rings has a little bit of a complicated ownership. So, and this is going to be, and I'm going to relate what I'm about to say. I apologize. I have to preempt this first of all. What I'm going to say is something that the World of Darkness and some of these other intellectual properties have an issue with, and I'm going to say the thing that shouldn't be said out loud in these kind of like overviews and whatnot of these games, and that is that sometimes these games have an incredibly deep lore to them, and not only is the lore deep, there's also a meta narrative, and like World of Darkness. In all of the White Wolf games, Rokugan and Legend of Five Rings also has a meta narrative to it. Yeah, and that meta narrative is that there's a storyline that has grown behind the scenes of the game, and pretty interestingly, from what I understand, there was also a card game attached to this role-playing game, and each year that they would have a convention, they'd have these big gaming events, and whatever happened in the gaming event at the convention, they would incorporate in the storyline of the tabletop role-playing game. And I want to give kudos to even attempting something like that. I think it really reinforces the adding people into the community, that there's a legend that starts to grow with people who have gone to the conventions, the gaming conventions, and realize, like, I was in that game when the daimyo, the king, or the land was taken over, or evil rose up, or whatever, or one clan leader was struck down, and it was this great battle, or whatever, all that kind of stuff. I think it's great. But here's the issue. And this is what I want to put up here, and I'm going to say the thing that most people don't want to say, and that is, with these games, with these deep lore and the websites and the social media groups that are dedicated to all the lore, if you want to get into these games, burn all that. There is no need, nor is it required for you to learn all the deep lore up to date at all. You don't have to use it. Doesn't mean you need to use it. I would ignore it. Yeah, don't even. You're gonna hurt your own brain, and I guarantee you there are people out there who know all the intricacies, that have kept up with everything, and yeah, don't hurt your own feelings. For your own gaming group, if you've got that one person in the group that's the well actually, that always says, well actually, tell them to go away, because you can break down into these like 45-minute tangents about what should or shouldn't have happened in a particular setting at a particular time. Yeah. I find that so annoying. I really do. Junk is a skunk. Yeah, I was physically knocked out. I had orifices were open due to illness and spewing forth scatologically ascendant refuse. You didn't want to be part of that. Drew says there were about 50 tournaments that had story impact, but the one at Gen Con usually had the biggest. Yeah. And I don't think it's, listen, I think the work involved in getting the tournaments together and recording what happened and then writing the meta narrative related to how the tournaments went, I think it's amazing. But as far as playing the game, you don't need it. You don't need it at all. And honestly, I would suggest to not even go into it. And I say this having the utmost respect, because I used to keep up with the World of Darkness stuff. Now I just put up both my middle fingers and like, F it, I'm just going to do whatever. It's about you and your players and what you're doing. So here we have, sorry, that's a preamble, because in general, here is the what do we call it here in the States? The Cliff Notes. Here's the kitties. I hope you can't hear that. I can't get up and get it. All right. So here we have the clans, and here are the Cliff Notes. There is an emperor, and the emperor rules the land, and each of you, your player characters, probably belong to one of a number of clans. Now, as the game has expanded, there are more clans that were introduced. There were other clans that were exiled. There are like minor clans, but here we're going to go through some of the more traditional clans that have stood the test of time. And each of these clans represents a power base, a faction, to keep the emperor's power in order. So you represent a power structure. And despite having this organized power structure, the clans are at odds with each other. And you as player characters may be assigned from different clans to work together for a common goal. Usually that common goal is to protect the land from the south, from the Shadowlands, known as the Shadowlands, where there are evil spirits and monsters and ogres and things like that. So there is a reason to stick together, and there's also a reason built-in conflict with each other, because each clan wants to gain honor, glory, status, and hell, even eliminate the other clans who might be working against everyone else, including the emperor, to take over. So if you have any interest in like a shogun or something like that, this is what you'd be into. So we have, let's see if I can do a generalization. So beginning here at the bottom left, I can move this down just a little bit. We have the Crab Clan, descendants of the mighty Kami. The Crab Clan are defenders of Rokugan. They patrol the Empire's southern border, where it meets twisted Shadowlands. Daily, Crab warriors perish upon the great Carpenter Wall, giving their lives that the other clans may live in peace and security. And so the Crab Clan are like the defenders against mysticism and standing upon the walls, standing upon the Great Wall, I guess you could say, to defend the lands. A little pissed off too, because they're the ones that are like, we're sitting on the wall and everybody else is doing their own thing. There's the Crane Clan, as we get to our second one on the left. The Crane Clan pursue excellence in all things. Their founder, the Kami Doji, was the most beautiful and eloquent of her brothers and sisters, and it was she who established the traditions now customary in the emperor's court. And so the Crane Clan are like the masters of the court, and they rule and surpass everyone else in terms of etiquette and the rules and beauty and honor. There's the Dragon Clan, the most enigmatic of the siblings, poorly understood even by the other children of the Sun and Moon. He and his followers among the Dragon Clan retreated to the mountains and remained there, interacting with the Empire only on rare occasion. The Bushi of the clan practiced the Daisho technique, a unique fighting style that utilizes both swords at once, and are familiar with the techniques of Shukenja. So the Dragon Clan are like basically dual-wielding mystics. Then there's the Lion Clan, and and mind you, the clans do kind of sound like what they are. So the Lion Clan, if the Crane sits at the emperor's left hand, then the lion are surely to his right. The lion are the most militant and aggressive of all clans. They revere Bushido and loyalty to the emperor as life's two most essential governing principles. And like lions, they are honorable. They are warriors, give their life, protect everyone. And then we have the last of our clans: the Mantis clan, Phoenix clan, Scorpion clan, Spider clan, and Unicorn clan. Mantis clan were not created by a kami, but rather by the will and determination of a long line of extraordinary mortal men, denied his rightful claim to leadership of the Crab clan. I can't pronounce the name. Kaimetsu Uo instead forged the first minor clan along with his followers, carving out a meager existence from tropical islands off Rokugan's coast. The Mantis became a great clan on the second day of Thunder, when Yoritomo led the Mantis into battle alongside the other clans in battle against the Shadowlands. Other clans consider the Mantis pirates and opportunists. Their naval strength is unmatched, allowing them frequent contact with nations beyond Rokugan. While the Mantis struggle to cast aside their reputation as thugs and pirates, the truth remains that many are aware such practices are quite common among their members. And so, yeah, the Mantis clan are thugs, pirates, spies, even, and of course they've been used by all the other clans in the past, but making them a primary, a top clan puts them into light. They're basically like the Navy. The Phoenix clan. Let's see, what is the greatest Shukenja of the age? Three of the clan's four families are devoted to studying the elements, with the Shiba working to defend and protect the clan's lands. They are the most mystic of all of them. Sages, I guess you could call them users of magic, even though it's kind of frowned upon in this day and age in Rokugan. There's the Scorpion clan. Duty given to the Scorpion clan is the topic of much debate among the other clans. The Scorpion are not talking ostensibly. The Scorpion are given the duty of protecting the 12 Black Scrolls, powerful artifacts used to bind the power of Fu Lang. Others believe, however, that the Scorpion's duty is to keep the clans continually at odds with one another, ensuring that none will ever have the strength to go against the Emperor. Some would even say the Scorpion clan are like the secret police, like they watch internally everybody else, and also spy masters possibly. But outwardly they are protectors of ancient relics. And the last two, the Spider clan, are the followers of Fu Lang, also known as the Fallen Kami, the Lost Brother or the Dark God. Originally denizens of the Shadowlands, known as the Lost, the Spider left their dark realm under the direction of the Dread Lord Daigatsu and infiltrated the Empire. There, they gathered the support of the peasants by combating bandits and other threats, often threats that the Spider created for the express purpose of destroying. The Sinner's plan is as yet unknown, but more and more throughout the Empire are coming to realize that these heroic Ronin among the Spider Clan are not at all what they seem. And so the Spider Clan are like the survivors that have escaped out of the Shadowlands, made their own clan, have the support of the peasantry. So you can't just crap on the peasants and whatnot. And of course, again, infiltrators, spies, looked at as deceitful, but also ones that have come from the very Shadowlands that they're protecting themselves from and may know a lot about it. And then lastly, the Unicorn clan. They are the mounted clan. Let's see what it says. For 8 centuries, they roamed the world exploring strange lands and cultures. Less than 400 years ago, they returned to Rokugan as the Unicorn clan and resumed their rightful place among the clans. And so they are known as like the horse riders. Let's go. into, let's page down here and go to something. Here's our history of the world up until this point in Rokugan. If you're really into what the clans have been doing, the conflicts with each other, conflicts with the evil beings and whatnot, and mind you, like I said, this is a meta plot, so there are like gaps in the history on purpose so that we can fill those gaps in. And also because there was a meta plot, they could reveal information about things that happened. So for example, maybe it was mysterious how a clan survived, and then at a certain point that survival comes to fruition. Like, was it through an evil force, or was there a plan? Did someone sacrifice themselves, and things like that? And so sometimes that information is like, yeah, my suggestion is you fill those gaps in for yourself. And here I'm just going to hold this on a page about the culture of Rokugan and how to play it. There you go. I like that. Yeah, there are no gaps, only opportunities for storytelling. Hells yeah. Hell yeah. This word Japanese inspired? Absolutely. Japanese, Japan, China. It's like, I would say that it's very cinematically samurai inspired, but it has a lot of Japanese and Asian influences. Yeah, absolutely, they're true. Crane Clan is the best. Yeah, you want to embarrass people in court? Yeah, go for Crane Clan. They're the duelists. Always prefer Crane style to Tiger style. A lot of the old here in the States, we always call them like Kung Fu theater movies. They used to play on the weekends back when I was growing up in the 80s and early 90s. And Tiger Crane was always a thing. It was always a kid like, mommy knows Crane style and daddy knows Tiger. And I learned both of those. It says you should look at Obojima if it's possible. It's inspired by Studio Ghibli's work. Love Studio Ghibli. Yeah, for the Scorpion. Yeah. Scorpion clan. And of course there's no perfect clan, right? Like, the whole point of it is to come up with your own intricacies, your own like light side, dark side kind of thing for each of the clans, and tell stories like that. Yep, absolutely. Yeah. So here we have a 2-page spread, and this goes into the culture of the world. Yeah, a lot of Japanese cultural things originate in China. Yeah, and exactly. And mind you, again, like one of the, I'll say, conflicts with this game is yeah, exactly. Yeah. One of the conflicts of this game is that Rokugan is a fantasy world. And yes, it is inspired by real things, but it isn't Japan, it isn't China, it isn't those regions. And so the idea behind the setting is to take like the best and brightest and greatest storytelling elements and mix it together into like a blender, more like painting strokes, and mixing it together that way. And so yes, you can absolutely look at the game and go, well, that's not really Japanese, that's not really from Thailand, that's not really Mongolian, because it isn't. It's just, it was made so that you could incorporate those. Just hell, what was the Shogun was just aired here in the States on FX/Hulu, and it is brilliant. And if you want to get a modern day look at what this game would be like, definitely check out what was maybe 8 episodes of Shogun. I would definitely take a look at it. No, and I have not watched Avatar: Last Airbender. I mean, I know what it's about in extremely generalized things, the elemental kingdoms and whatnot. For one group, I made it so that they deliberately spread myths about them so that enemies can't figure them out. Exactly. So what do we do in this game? All right. What happens in this tabletop role-playing game that's not Dungeons and Dragons that I've been picking on, and that is the constant conflict between glory, honor, and status. And here, this 2-page spread, we're going to talk about. This goes into what face is, the Bushido code, dishonorable actions, and things like that. And you, as a character, you are constantly, other than fighting evil, you're constantly being challenged with having a balance of your honor. And, here under the Bushido code as written in this game, there is honesty, courage, compassion, courtesy, honor, and sincerity. So, like, honesty and honor are two separate things, just as there's courage and compassion, sincerity and duty. And those things will be constantly coming into conflict, as well as many other things, like how is seppuku handled in the game in terms of risking your life. Yes, there are many more times when your character will be faced with the choice of giving up their life. Like the OSR, are there many times where characters will sacrifice themselves or give up their life? Yes. That is a part of this game, and unfortunately, it's the kind of thing that you really can't delve into on YouTube, because self-harm and self-deletion isn't really a thing that's allowed on the platform to talk about too much. But in this tabletop role-playing game, it is very much part of the culture and embraced here. Of course, there's games, etiquette, goes into like bowing and kneeling in terms of address and things of that nature. You can be, like, for example, you may be, a very famous story is the story of the 47 Ronin, in which the samurai were ordered to perform horrible acts on their own peasantry. So duty says that you follow the instructions of your daimyo, the king, the leader, the nobility, and you follow their instructions. But they also have a code of compassion and honor to protect the populace. Also, they have a code of honesty as well. And all of that came into effect where they refused to attack the peasantry, which is refusal to follow an order, which meant that they became enemies, which meant that they weren't following their honor, but were they following their honor? And for many years, they pretended to be dishonored, including living amongst the people and being disrespected, until they gathered their forces together to take over, to dispatch the evil warlord and kill this person and their evil, I guess you air quote, evil minions and whatnot, except they were their brothers and brothers and sisters who were like, well, we've decided to remain loyal because that's our honor. And the others were like, we've decided to protect the people and that's part of our honor. And so you get into a lot of those conflicts, and having those conflicts happen is part of the game. Here we talk about love and marriage, gender roles, adventures and the kinds of adventures. And mind you, a lot of adventuring, even though the game sounds like it's very courtly, like you're constantly in the courts, saving face, there are plenty of adventures. There's, traveling from place to place, sending messages, building after there's great aftermaths from like weather events or evil incursions, hunting down enemies, bounty hunting, things like that. And players can be sent on those missions to perform certain things. Here you talk about languages, coin, commerce, war. You could absolutely run a game where there's where you are sieging a castle or defending a place, and you can even have stories that mix the two. So, for example, the players could be defending a place during war, but the intricate story is, do you, like, maybe the players are in charge of a small entourage of or a group, and they have to protect them, and do they sacrifice one for others. Players could even sacrifice themselves to, like, standing in an alleyway or a pass or on the docks to keep enemies away while others sail away on ships or something like that. That happens a lot. It talks about blood feuds, travel. Absolutely, positively filling this game with NPCs is important. You're going to make enemies in court, in and out of court. Some people are more lethal with their tongue and bureaucracy than they are with any kind of weapon, and they can be just as deadly to you by backing you into a corner where you may have to sacrifice your life for a simple thing. There are superstitions amongst each of the clans. Here we have like crab superstitions, crane, dragon superstitions, and these are all the clans. And those superstitions are called superstitions because in your own game, is it a superstition? Maybe they're right about this thing, but everyone else thinks they're a little bit cuckoo. They're like, nah, that can't be real. And then also, of course, you as a player character, do you have intricate knowledge about this thing? Or maybe even you don't believe it. Like you belong to the clan out of duty and loyalty, but you're like, I don't believe all this kind of stuff. And then we have time and seasons. And it is suggested that you can play the game in seasons. So if you have a gap in the game, or time has passed, maybe there's like a winter season and people have gone away and then they come back during the spring. And so now like children have been born, crops are growing, and people have gone through maybe some changes, and you can allow some changes to happen to internally, like to player characters, like, hey, I grew a beard, or I had a child, or I injured myself, or something like that, and then make some changes with NPCs as well. Some have lost status, maybe they've lost a loved one, maybe they've gained notoriety, disappeared, given up their sword, things like that. This talks about the land and the mysticism of the land, the flora, the fauna, and then we get into a far deeper thing about the clans, who runs the clans, and what their position is, some important NPCs that the players may have to protect or fight against. There's some artwork too. I'm trying to, that's not a bad piece. I'm actually trying to find a piece of artwork to sit on. And if you absolutely positively can run a game that is basically centered on a particular clan. So if your clan is about defending the nation from the Shadowlands, maybe all the players, even if you're from different clans, the crab clan is defending the walls against evil, and maybe that is an adventure amongst itself. And so you're doing that, and then maybe there's another adventure where you're focused on a different clan. So it's built into the system. Let me see what you guys have to say, and we'll get to something else. Yeah. Like World of Darkness. Yeah. Say one more time that the cran. Dev, say one more time that the crane have superstitions, and I will challenge you to a duel and beat your ass at the same time. Yeah. They are. Hey, maybe they're not the best on the battlefield, and maybe they don't know much about magic, but in a duel for honor, they are some of the best. Andor. Yeah. All right, let's see what some of your comments. Mateo says, Shogun is the best show I've watched in the last 2 years. It's a masterpiece. I definitely agree. It is brilliant. And if you wanted to get in, like, if you need a framework, that's a great show to use. If you want a framework or get your players involved in a game like this, definitely use it. Amon says, in one story I read, a spy master used a few enemy spies to feed them deliberately information about them, but quality-wise, he compared it to breadcrumbs. It weakened their standing and helps his organization to control the information flow. That's a great idea to do. Yeah. Like it keeps them loyal, but then you give them little breadcrumbs, so it brings them down a notch, even as a spy master or something. That'd be kind of cool. I would like to see that. Nameless Spook says, I want to see this done in reverse with an Asian game company doing a stereotyped version of American mobsters or cowboys with a convoluted meta story. I wonder if someone's done that. To look at it from someone else's eyes, I think that's cool. I wouldn't care. I know some people could get offended, fold their arms and pout and get offended by that. I think it would be cool to see it from someone else's eyes. Drew says, speaking of great shows, season 2 for Andor is coming. Hell yeah. I can't wait. It's possible they Bushido allowed a samurai to kill a peasant in order to test out a new sword. It's very interesting to see different cultures' honor systems. I've also heard about like testing swords on prisoners as well, and striking, peasants that speak up and you have the legal right to strike them down. And that's some other, I'm going to say this in air quotes, problematic issues with this game and Rokugan, because it does embrace some of those things. And it's up to you and your table whether a different honor system or different cultural system is allowable at your table, even though internally you may have a different, killing peasants may not be something that you today would think is a righteous act, whereas in this fictional mythic world, it may be a honorable thing to do because of what was said or done or what have you. Even if, and mind you, a lot of times we as players, we love the end of the equation, right? We love to figure out what's the right thing to do. But the real conflict and the real story is a good character who doesn't want to hurt someone may need, out of honor, to strike down an innocent person because they spoke up against, say, a despicable noble. And then that good character then, from that point on, maybe names their sword after the peasant that was struck down. That happened in the book Shogun. And may even carry on and may say, you know what, this warlord is evil, but I had to strike them down for saying something. But there is honor in their sacrifice and moving forward from that point on. So, haven't seen White Lotus, but I do want to take a look at Andor. Drew says gender roles remind how much I hate the term samurai ko that they made up for the game. Yeah, because some would say that the samurai means servant and service, and so it samurai isn't actually a male thing. It's just that it's very much associated with the warriors, but having a samurai code is something that anybody can have. So yeah, it's a service to one's honor and thing. Also, different levels of information in a character's education can be a factor. Hell yeah. Players could very easily uncover the Lion Clan, the most honorable defenders of the land, and the Emperor themselves. Who's to say that a player doesn't discover that the Lion Clan has been in cahoots with the Spider Clan or Mantis Clan in taking out enemies and whatnot, A craftsman winner missing because of his hyper focus on his newest project. Yeah. Craftsman went missing because of crafting focus. Could be. Spy Master amusing. In his story, because he knows the enemy spies, he feeds information. It's easier when you know where your enemies are. Absolutely. Absolutely. Miyazaki leans heavily on Western mythologies in his work. Miyazaki, writer, animator for, I would say that. Hercules started his 12 deeds because of this. Yeah, performing a heinous, deviant act, but done because someone tricked them. I believe he killed someone. Hercules. I don't know that. Yeah, Drew says samurai is the caste, the warriors are bushi, but yes, that is also gender neutral. Yeah. And that's how I would run it, by the way. You do not have to play a specific samurai warrior in this game. You can play shukenja and others, other types, like, oh, well, here's a perfect example. Here's a piece of art, right? You can play these other characters. Are there like classic ninja and things like that? Yes, kind of. Yeah, maybe not quite so stereotypical, but yeah, there are. They do exist, and some of the clans kind of represent that. Spider Clan, Mantis Clan, Scorpion Clan kind of represent that portion of it. But yeah. So this goes through the clans, and as they try to show you with some of this artwork, right? They want to show you different styles and types of looks and appearances as well, because you can get very stereotyped with this. And let me see. Let's go to it's over 300 pages. Trying to get to the. Here we go. Each chapter is broken up into its elements. Excuse me. And like earth, the book of earth, book of water, book of fire, and it goes into book of water. I believe is the dice mechanic. And but before we begin with the dice mechanic, there are the game of 20 questions, and this is basically when you're playing the game. Before you start your character, here are some questions to answer about where your character stands in this world. It's very difficult to see this, but some of the questions include things like, how would others describe your character's appearance? Or what is your character's greatest strength or greatest weakness? Is your character a bushi, shukenja, monk, or courtier? This, in answering that question, this is an important distinction, as the Emperor's rigid social system advocates that everyone knows their role and acts accordingly. This is not entirely a straitjacket, however. Many bushi are well known for their scholarly pursuits, and there are tales of courtiers who maintain great courage under fire during physical conflicts. Also, some players may lean heavily into like, I want to be a badass warrior, but you are also expected to have some skill in etiquette and courtly manners. And so, mind you, that could be a very cool character trait, like, I don't speak well, and I have low self-impulse control, or I don't know calligraphy, or things like that. And there are challenges of friendly duels used with like wooden swords and things. There are Zen archery, calligraphy, bonsai, flower arranging, dance, poetry, things like that. So you can have literal conflicts with that and lose and gain honor and status by being good at those things. More questions. What does your character think of Bushido? One character in the television show Shogun, there was a character in there who wasn't really honorable, and he was a great character. He pretty much laughed at the system that he actually survived in. Although literally at the very end, he went out kind of like a boss. But it was really cool how funny to see a character immersed in a honor system that looked at the honor system like it was foolish. Really cool. What other questions? What family does your character belong to? What is your character's opinion of his own clan? Is your character married? What is your character's main motivation? Does your character have any prejudices? Who is the person your character trusts most? What clan does your character belong to? And these are questions that, now some of these questions you may not know the answer to, and you could find them out during gameplay. 20 more questions like, to whom does your character owe the most loyalty? How would your character's parents describe him or her? What is your character's highest ambition? What are your character's favorite and least favorite things? How religious is your character? If you could, what advice would you give your character? Does your character have any recurring mannerisms? And what about your character's emotions? And there's a couple more questions, but basically it's to round out your character. Here we also get into the general game mechanics, the roll and keep system. Like I said, you have a trait and or a skill, you roll the dice, and you only get to keep the dice, as many dice as your trait, even if you have a very high skill. And then and so I suppose if you wanted to make a comparison, someone can be have a very natural aptitude, having a very high trait, earth, air, fire, water trait. Someone could overcome their weaknesses by learning great skill. And so someone can have a very low trait and a very high skill. I think age could have something to do with that too, right? A young person may have a very high trait, low skill, and an old master might have a low trait, extremely high skill. So talks about target numbers, some abilities that you get to pick for your character. You can get free raises. Remember, raises are like making a thing difficult on purpose to get a benefit out of that. And then we go into like earth, air, fire, and water, and some of this your sub skills related to that, and adjudicating that, and then using your void points. Talks about using void points. Clan, family, and school, advantages, disadvantages. Peasants and non-samurai, talks about how to relate to that. Glory, status, and heritage, insight, and school ranks. I like many games, when you're involved with a culture that may not be familiar with, or players might not be familiar with doing a thing. Again, this is not D&D, is the fact that it may be very, players needing to watch what they say and how they say it, or who they have loyalty to is a very important part of your character's development. And some players may be like, well, I want to pick chaotic neutral because I want to be able to do whatever I want. And this is the kind of world where that's actually not true. Or you can do whatever you want, you just won't live very long. Or you won't be, let me say, you won't be a viable character. This talks about using skills, groups, helping someone, unskilled roles, failing skill roles, group skills, skill ranking, and skill substitution. You can make an argument that, well, I may not be a great warrior, but what about my performance skill? Could I do that to impress the courtly nobles or something? And someone could say, well, yeah, that might be a good idea. And then here we have our long skill list and masteries. Let me find one. Here we go. Tea ceremony. Here. So here in the middle right, we have the tea ceremony, which is a performance skill. That skill is related to void. It's because it's 5 rings, right? Earth, air, fire, water, and void. And then there are like master abilities depending on what rank you have. And then there are group skill rolls. The tea ceremony is always a cooperative skill roll when more than one person is involved. A successful tea ceremony requires a void tea ceremony roll versus target number 20. All those involved in a ceremony regain 1 void point. And so there are gamified reasons for engaging in some of these things that are like non-combat, the typical non-combat stuff. But anyway, wanted to introduce Legend of the 5 Rings. These are all the skills. Aijutsu, the master, the art of quick draw, over here to the very right. Yeah, I remember in my martial arts days, we practiced Aijutsu, and we were sitting in a seizan across from each other, and we would draw our practice swords and use them against each other, locking the other person's sword down, or how to avoid being assassinated. Those are some fun classes. Wasn't very practical, but fun to learn nonetheless. Hercules, I couldn't remember. Hercules did it because Hera brought him a warrior rage, and he killed his kid and wife and pride. That's right. I was like, why did he kill his wife? It was the warrior rage that did it, and then he got put on the 12 he had the 12 tasks that he had to perform. Amon says, I think a similar system could help in other TTRPG systems for character creation. Yeah, I think some of the questions about, it's interesting to have a question about what other people think your character is like, because, you know, internally your character might be suffering from great guilt, but outwardly other people might think your character is a drunk, right? And it's kind of cool to say, well, not what do you think your character is like, what do other people think your character is like? And I think questions like that would be kind of cool to answer, or to discover why you haven't answered the question. Which I once played where blind when it came to politics. She had no interest as a local healer in a village who is the local lord. Yep. Yeah, I mean, that can be a very interesting character trait, right? Like, a great warrior with no social skills may be very valuable to a daimyo or a nobility, even though it hurts the nobility because your character doesn't have social skills, right? Which is a real thing. That, I think that was, I suppose you could even include that in the movie Shogun. There was a character in there who was like a badass warrior, really didn't have the best social skills. Yeah, I know something you do not know. I am not actually Scorpion Clan. That's funny. There's something I ought to tell you. I'm not Scorpion Clan either. Oops. Yeah, that's cool. That would be cool. Two Scorpion Clan characters look at each other like, wait, what? You can do everything you wish to, but you are also valid for the resulting consequences. Lots of, if nothing else, the minute a player starts performing any action, there will always be consequences for their choices or lack of choices thereof. So yeah. Thinking about 3rd edition reminds me of how much power gaming that edition allowed. Makes me almost want to play it. Yeah, because the power gaming came from like the min-maxing. So like if you played let's pick on Crane here. You could play a Crane character and you could hyper focus, because the Crane characters are like the masters of the courts and etiquette and dueling. And you could really hyper focus on just dueling itself. And so at least some of the questions are good inspiration points, even when in another setting. I agree. I definitely agree with that. Yeah, those questions. So anyway, guys, thank you very much for letting me show off just this small portion of the game. I'm going to go back to the question section. And oops, I sure skipped over it. Nope. Here we go. Yeah. So to the left are some of the questions, you know, like how would your character handle a subordinate's improper behavior? Or what about your character's emotions? These are questions that are really cool. And then the roll and keep system. I'm surprised something that happened during the 90s and 2000s that is like doing a resurgence now are interesting game mechanics. And this roll and keep system with the raises is pretty interesting. And the strange part of the roll and keep system is that it does slow down. How to explain this? While it can be very fast, it can slow down gameplay on purpose as a storytelling element, right? So 2 characters across from each other want to draw their swords and kill each other. But we've seen in cinematic samurai movies where they stand across from each other, they get ready to draw their sword, we do a zero in on their eyes, their foot moving slightly, their finger moving, clicking the sword out with their thumb, and then grabbing it, just tensing their fingers. Maybe there's like cherry blossom leaves flowing through the air, and suddenly they run at each other like super quick and pass by each other. and then of course slow motion, one of them falls down, the other one doesn't, and we worry about it. The game kind of embraces that, where a player goes, okay, hold on, I want to fight this guy, but he also has his guards. I could focus on him and take him out, but the guards are going to then jump on me. I want to divide my attention between my main rival and the two guardians, because if I don't, they're going to jump on me, blah blah blah. Should I make and having that discussion will slow the game, slow it down, but I think it slows it down like you would like a slow motion technique, or like a cinematic, everybody's taking a deep breath and all you hear is like your heartbeat, or your breath, or the wind on the air, or the flapping of a bird's wings, or something like that. And I think it kind of embraces that a little bit there. So anyway, this is the game, this is the character sheet, the roll and keep system. Thank you very much for letting me introduce this game to you guys, and then we'll get into some other things. Yes, here in the States is daylight saving time. We've engaged in that. I can't remember which version. Is it we spring forward, fall back, but I can't remember whether we are in or we are not in saving time. I can't remember how that works, but whatever. I think you're talking about something. Yeah, also in other systems, I do players who think about their actions in similar details. Yeah, but some of those games aren't really designed around that. I suppose we could retroactively go, like, in game cinematically, what we're doing is we're taking our time with like the slow motion action or something when someone takes too much time. But listen, this is part of the not D&D page through overview we're doing. And maybe Dungeons and Dragons isn't really the game about that. When you've got like 3 actions and 5 players and everyone's rolling their eyes because I've got to wait for 15 different actions for it to come back around to me. I don't know. But also it does success is improved with cooperation in this game. But I play Mutants and Mastermind. That's a great game system. That was called Pride Laugh. It's funny how the emojis actually have names when I draw them up here. But I have, is it first edition Mutants and Masterminds? Maybe second edition. Oh man. So I had a bit of time to think my action when it was ready. That's all right. That's all right, guys. So anyway, again, thank you very much for letting me show this off. Is it daylight saving is in summer? Yeah, that's okay. Okay. Yeah. So we spring forward, we go into daylight saving, and then in the fall we drop back out of it. Whatnot. Yeah. Worldwide, we always talk about getting rid of it, and we never get rid of it because I think we, even though I say for myself, I think we could even have a more radical system where each of us doesn't even change our times, but but a flying chair in my character's direction narrowed it down a bit. Yeah, I think a flying chair towards one's head would get someone to have to have a reaction. Time for revenge. We are saving daylight time and you are not. All right, guys. So thank you very much for being part of the show. I really appreciate it. Thank you very much for allowing me to show this off to you guys. I really appreciate it. Got my camera system back up. Had a little downtime for illness. We got new kitties who are also doing their own thing. You probably heard them in the background if my microphone was picking up that kind of those kind of sounds and whatnot. So I apologize for that as well. If I had a kitty cam, I'd probably show them off as well. I had the opportunity. But anyway, guys, thank you very much for being part of the show. I really appreciate it. Again, here's the big old character sheet. I love it. So guys, have a great one. Thank you very much. If any of you, because we're going to get out of this and go into some other things too. If any of you have any other games that you think are worth taking a look at, we'll try to get into that. I thought about Also, since I was talking about mythology and ethnicity and culture and histories around the world, that we might take a trip outside of this place and go to other game worlds. Like, and why would we want to go to these other game worlds? So thought about that too. I don't have every tabletop role-playing game to show off. Get a kitty cam. Yeah. Scarlet and Brutus, and where are they right now? Let's see if I can show off one of them. Where's she at? Oh, she's usually in the hut. Oh well. They're probably they probably already burned themselves out and taken a nap. They do it in like half-hour increments or something, hour increments or whatever. They're newbies. They're 2 months old, less than, something like that. Just been weaned, so. Wow, mixed. The DM mixed World of Darkness with the Mutants and Mastermind world. Ooh, I know. So, some have asked about doing more World of Darkness. Maybe we might get into that a little bit, and like, why the hell World of Darkness still holds people's attention even today, just like Call of Cthulhu and some of these other games have held people's attention. Maybe we might do something like that. And we're getting towards the end of me finishing up on Obsidian Star and the Kickstarter that I was part of. Wow, there's a whole bunch of stuff. The Kickstarter that I was part of. Let's see if it changed here. Cool name goes here. See, I know the website hasn't changed, but the title page may have already changed. It's part of a Kickstarter for a public game, and okay, all right. Okay, it hasn't changed. Anyway, the cool name goes here. Tabletop role-playing game actually has a name called Open Adventure, and I was hoping to show that off, but oh well. Oh well. Let's see. It might be on Facebook somewhere, I think. I'm gonna try it one more time. Where's the group? Open Adventure. There we go. And share this out. Let's change this around. There we go. That's awesome. That's awesome, Drew. Yeah, playtest scenario for a Heartbleed system. Yeah, I can't wait to see it, because it is very interesting, the kinds of experiences that we can have with tabletop role-playing games. And I find it interesting that, like, how we can make a resolution system about things other than our classic, like, I want to fight something, I want to punch someone in the face, or whatever. And I think it's really telling how to do that. So let's bring this back up here again. So anyway, guys, yeah, Open Adventure is the Kickstarter that I was part of. So now that I have that project pretty much done, I think Mark Tassin said it's going into layout pretty soon. We'll get into that as well. So yeah, for those of you who don't know, I am a very small-time freelance writer, and I've engaged with, like, this one, Open Adventure. I've written with N-World and Absolute Tabletop, kind of, and Critical Hit Publishing, and so yeah, Onyx Path Publishing, somebody else too. That's cool. That's cool. Starting point of her story, interesting, but See how it works out with friends to support her after the reveal. Animated doll. Braccoloni is the only one that I've seen that really embraced that. Oh, there is another one. Oh, I know one. I know something else. Let's see if I can find this. Let's see if I can find this here. Sneak peek. There we go. This is I was contacted by the people here. There will be a launch party starting in 3 days and 5 hours and counting down of a Winnie the Pooh tabletop role-playing game. Tales in the 100-Acre Woods. Bramble Trek. Kind of cool. Let me page down to some of this stuff here. Some of the imagery here. Yeah, this is about to get started. And they're willing to send me some materials. I don't... Winnie the Pooh now is in public domain. So, play as beloved characters. It uses playing cards, which, you know, I always have an interest in using playing cards, tarot cards, things like that. So, yeah. Kind of cool. All right. Bramble Trek. Always these new, interesting, different kinds of things. All right, guys. So thank you very much for being part of the show. I really appreciate it. Also, thank you very much for being patient with me. This studio is a one-man show. So if one of us gets sick, and I don't know if you could actually hear it in my voice because there's a little bit of a nasal decongest right in the back, a little post-nasal drip, sounds a little nasally. Sorry about that. But it'll clear up pretty soon, I think. But anyway, guys, thank you very much for being part of the show. I really appreciate it. Thank you very much for letting me show off Legend of the Five Rings. This was the 3rd edition version of the game. There are, 5 editions of this game as well. This is I left in the beginning of the chat the one for TTRPG, but I'm sure with just a little Google foo, you can find different versions of this, including the Fantasy Flight Games version of this game. This was the roll and keep version of it, which I think is kind of a cool system. Not kind of cool. I think it's a really, really interesting game mechanic. I'm surprised it hasn't, or something similar to it hasn't been taken before. So anyway, have a great day. For those of you across the pond and elsewhere that are not involved in daylight saving yet, sorry about the little time issue, but I'm sure you will catch up very soon based on where you are around the world. So guys, have a great one. Thank you very much. Off to work. See ya. Bye.